of letters. When we joined the European Union, we started to get a lot of money from EU funds, you know, to change the infrastructure, to improve the infrastructure of Poland. So we held a debate all over Poland in 20 largest cities about what is the goal for our city? How should we spend this money to gain the most, you know, in the next, let's say, 10 years, 20 years. So it was a huge debate, and we got 70,000 letters in just 2 weeks just about this topic. Another example, it's completely, you know, strange ones. We just wanted to check how Polish school improved over 20 years, and we just sent these guys for a week to the second grade school just to attend all the class, all the lessons, you know, to prepare homeworks, to stand up in front of the class and answer to teachers' questions and so on and so on. Of course, it was an entertainment, but on the other hand, it helped us to show what are the differences, and we asked other people, you know, to discuss it. What's the quality? What's the change? You know, what's the change in the learning process? So this is how we do journalism when we involve people to conversate about issues, to discuss them more deeply. Another example is about journalism as a collaboration, because what you can do, you can also ask the audience to help you to gather information, for example, or to help you to do something. And this is an example. I may think that probably you are familiar to it. After we joined the European Union, Poland population has shrunk by 2 million. Yeah? So 2 million people migrated to Western countries to find a better job. And according to research that we have done, 80% of them were aged between 18 and 34. So they were dynamic, probably more dynamic than the people who stayed, and they were people who had probably higher ambitions. Yeah, so you could say that it was a brain drain, in fact, from the country. So we wanted to check what they are really getting there, how it is really to look for these jobs, what are their problems, and let me just present, you know, two most popular examples. One is the Polish plumber. Who knows everything probably about pipes and sinks, and in Poland he could earn no more than 300 euros. Yeah, and if he, for example, moved to Great Britain, he could earn probably 1,500 euros a month. Yeah, so it's a huge difference. You know, if you are a young person and you are thinking about having a family, you know, getting married, having kids, you know, having a car, having the first apartment. It's much easier to do if you earn 1,500 euros than 300. And the second example is, of course, the Polish nurse of dreams. And you know, the average pay for the salary of the nurses that traveled especially to Scandinavian countries was 1,200 euros, and in Poland they are paid no more than 300 euros. Yeah, so it's also a huge shift. You can understand why they are migrating, yeah? But even if you can understand why they are doing it, you probably, as a journalist, don't know how they are doing it. So we decided to follow the migrants. And we encouraged 6 reporters from the newspaper. We chose the young ones, that are maybe not the most experienced reporters, but they are experienced enough and young enough to probably have the same aspirations and feel the same, I don't know, cultural patterns than the migrants, and we just sent them. I just gave them a check, you know, for some money. I just gave them a plane ticket, and they had to take care about everything. They had to find a place to sleep. They had to find a real job. Their goal was not to talk with migrants. They had to find a real job and work there for at least a week, yeah, on the real job. And it couldn't be a job of a journalist. That was the only condition. So they were just sent there, and you know, let us show, you know, how quick it is to find a better paid job than in Poland. And for example, this guy in London got a job of a bartender at a London pub, and you know, we had a problem with him, I could tell you, because he was earning 3 times more than a journalist, yeah, for the newspaper. So we had to use his family and his girlfriend, you know, to really convince him to come back. But it was like it is. You know, it took him 3 days to find such a job. Maybe it's not the job of the dreams, but you know, the difference 3 times more. You know, and we are not paying so poorly. So it just means that probably we missed, you know, the place of birth. Yeah. And what was interesting, all of them succeeded very quickly, and they found a job within 2 weeks' time, except this girl, who went to Helsinki. And you know, the problem was that in Helsinki they have a shortage of employees, but they are not hiring foreigners. Even everybody is speaking English everywhere. But they are not hiring, you know, English-speaking people. If you don't speak Finnish, she couldn't even get a job of a cleaner, you know, because they told her in a work labor agency that she cannot be a cleaner because you know, today's detergents are so complicated. The use of it is so complicated that you have to read, you know, instructions and follow it. And instructions are in Finnish. So if you don't speak Finnish, you cannot be a cleaner in Helsinki. So it was a very funny example. And we couldn't really learn about it if we just didn't try it. The funny thing was that the whole process of reporting it started many weeks before they really were sent to these cities, because they started a blog, and we just announced in the newspaper that these guys are going there to find a better job. And they are just preparing. So they started to document the whole process of preparing themselves on the blog, and they started to ask questions to people to help them. For example, where should I look for a job in London? Where should I look for a cheap place to stay? Where should I eat, you know, to keep my budget tight, and so on? Where can I spend, you know, where can I spend a nice, I don't know, Sunday evening, yeah, or a Saturday evening, you know, not very that is not very expensive. Where can I find Polish sausage, you know, if you get fed up with this British cuisine, yeah? So these are they just started to talk with people about it, and it really worked. Readers started to give them advice, and they were following their remarks, because when they moved, of course, they were also writing stories that, you know, today, the first day of looking for a job, I went there, I met somebody, and people were following it, and people were commenting. They were making comments on their progress. You know, oh, where did you go? You are stupid, you know, it's a completely wrong idea. Go to a different district, you know, it's much easier to find a job there, because there are too many, I don't know, Pakistanis there, you know, you will never get a job there. Yeah, so this was a kind of advice that readers were giving to reporters. Yeah? And of course, reporters were also filing what did they discover for themselves about, you know, these people, the situation, the city. And from the start, we wanted to make it a multimedia project. So of course, they were writing a blog, but they were also having a TV program. We don't have a TV channel, but we just made a partnership with a news channel. It's called TVN24. It's a news 24-hour news channel like CNN. It's in Polish, and we just had a daily news show about their progress. It was just for 10 minutes, but it was completely enough.